In this video, we're going to model the fireplace. At this point, the fireplace is simply a texture on the flat wall surface. We can make this model much more realistic by actually modeling it. And we'll do that by starting in the Image 1 scene. So click Image 1 up here at the top of the screen, and then go to the Rectangle tool and draw a rectangle that encompasses the entire fireplace. I'll start about here and draw a rectangle on the floor that is about as big as the fireplace. And then use the Push-Pull tool and pull this up. And I'm going to zoom in by rolling the mouse wheel. And I don't want it to encompass the top board. I'm going to go just below that. Now I can use the Push-Pull tool to adjust the size of this new volume box that I've made. What I need to do is take a look at this edge here and then move this back so that the depth of the posts is about right. Now on the other side over here, it looks like I need to pull that back a little bit. So I'm going to orbit, grab this surface, go back to Image 1, zoom in, and then interactively decide how wide that has to be by clicking a point. Notice that there was an animated scene transition between where I was and then Image 1. As we're going back and forth between these modes a lot, this can be distracting. Let's turn that off. Go to the Window menu and open up Model Info. Go to the Animation page and uncheck this setting, and then close the window. So now if we're at some orbited location, all we have to do is click Image 1, and we immediately go there without having a transition. Okay, now let's continue modeling the fireplace. I'm going to select this edge and then copy it. So I'll use the Move tool, start moving it, and then press and release the Option or Alt key on Windows. And I want to move the cursor in the green direction and just take a look at the length box and see how wide this is. It looks like it's around 7 inches or so. So I'm making a mental note of that value because I know that this object would be symmetrical on both sides. So I'm going to then select this edge, press M for Move, start moving it, press and release the Option or Alt key, and let's move it over 7 inches. I'll type 7, enter. Then I'll go to the Push-Pull tool and push this surface back to represent the front of the brick area, or the stonework area rather. And I'll draw a rectangle in on this surface and then push that back some distance. I'd actually like that to line up with the wall surface, so I'm going to click on the wall over here. I could also draw another rectangle in from this corner and actually try to capture some of this detail. Maybe a rectangle wouldn't be the best choice there. I think I'll draw a line from this corner over. And I'll just sketch this in to represent this flat surface here. Now we should have a separate surface there as compared to the floor. So now that I've modeled the fireplace, I'm going to strategically orbit into an elevation view where I can select it all. And then I will protect that information by converting it into a group. Choose Edit, Make Group. Now it acts as a single object. I can then draw a rectangle on top of that, and it will be a separate object. I will then pull that up 1 inch, which is the thickness of that board. Then I'll pull this edge over, and I'm not sure how far to go, so I'll go back to Image 1, zoom in there, and locate it right about there. It looks like that's about 4 inches. I'll type 4, enter. And I'm making a mental note of that distance because I'm anticipating wanting to pull the opposite side out a matching distance, 4 inches. Go back to Image 1. Now, The next step is to project the textures from the photo onto the new geometry, but we can't do that if we have a group. So I'm going to select the group, right-click, and choose Explode. This brought up the status bar incidentally, so I'm going to drag this back down and pull this up. So now we no longer have a group, we just have a series of faces and edges. I will then select all of that geometry that we've modeled, so carefully, and then click Project Textures from Photo. We do want to overwrite the existing materials, yes, and we don't need to trim the partially visible faces, I'll say no. And let's orbit around and take a look at it. Now we have a more realistic rendition of the fireplace because it's actually a 3D model.